Anybody having any joints talking to them today? I know, right? Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, we gotcha. Yeah. So again, damp weather can make wonky joints a little more wonky. So just kind of pay attention to that. We're going to be going through movements that address joint range of movement, joint range of motion today. So if something's feeling a little too much, especially if you've got joint or joints that are talking to you, just maybe don't do quite so much. Or on the other side of that, if they need a little bit more movement, maybe just kind of breathe through some of that discomfort. And you all know the difference between discomfort and pain. Oh, volume? Need a little more? Oh, phones. Yes, I'll get to that. Yep, thank you. Uh, yes, actually, how about right now? Could everybody just check their phone and make sure it's off, please? All right. And where was I? What was I talking about? Joints. Yeah. Wonky joints. Yes, thank you. Okay. Wow. So my it takes a village, right? Takes a village. So sometimes, we, especially when we have had an injury or maybe a diagnosis of something, diagnoses can be very scary when we see the medical terms for certain things. We tend to not want to move those parts that are injured or sore, and most times the best thing for those parts that we don't want to move is movement. But there's a range that we should be moving in. It should be uncomfortable, or it can be uncomfortable, but it should never be painful. Painful is when you get that really strong hit that any more is going to be bad. That I need to stop this right away. That's different than, oh, this is really sore and I just don't want to do this. Or this is really sore and I'm not really sure, but I'm going to do a little bit more on this just to see how it feels. So, I often say this, that we never grow where we're comfortable. We only grow when we're uncomfortable, right? Because it forces us to step aside. It forces us to make a different choice or make a movement. So I always try to find at least one thing in my day that's uncomfortable and sit with it or dig deeper into it. Sometimes that's a mental thing. Sometimes that's an emotional thing. Sometimes it's a physical thing. So I think it's just a good exercise for me to make sure that I don't get too rigid in my views, in my physicality, in my emotional state. So just arthritis. Yes, arthritis can be very challenging, right? A couple of you might have a little arthritis. Yeah, just a couple. So, yeah, I know, right? And the best thing for arthritis is to move. It's to move and to because we don't get when we close down on something, especially something that's arthritic, it just continues to constrict. It continues to contract. So doing anything that can create bigger movement, and it's always going to be better when you do movement with mindfulness, meaning you don't just turn and do a movement or a quick movement here, a quick movement there. It's am I breathing when I'm moving? Am I moving slowly enough that when I get to the edge where, oh, that's going to be painful if I go anymore, that I know where to stop, as opposed to just making a movement and not really knowing where that edge is. So thank you for that, John. All right. How about some breathing? Yeah. Come right up to the front edge of your chair. And have your feet underneath your knees. Socks on, socks off, towels underneath, or whatever you've got is good. And if you'd like, kind of close your eyes. And that just gives you a moment to go inside, what's happening inside your body. And notice, starting from the ground up, so where your feet are in contact with the floor, what are you aware of there? So maybe you're aware of temperature. Maybe you're aware of what's on your feet or what's under your feet. Maybe you're aware of toes, arches, heels, tops of the feet, toenails even. So if you've got like something going on with the toenail, that can give you some sensation there. So anything you're noticing in your feet right now. And then move up to your ankles. And again, just kind of noticing what's going on in that right ankle. The inside and the outside, the front and the back. And what about the left? So again, the inside, outside, front and back. And let your breath begin to relax while you're doing this investigation as you come up into your shins. So those are the front of your lower legs. What are you aware of in your shins and your calves? And maybe the answer is nothing. Maybe I don't notice anything there. But maybe I do notice something there. And then going up to the knees, to the right knee and left knee, and the front of the knees, the sides, the back, the top, the bottom. So there's all kinds of different angles to these body parts. It's not just one particular perspective. And then moving up to the thighs, so the front of the thighs, from your knees to your hips, the back of the thighs, from the backs of your knees to your bottom. And then we've got the insides of the thighs and the outsides of the thighs. Again, kind of three-dimensional view, breathing in and breathing out. And coming right up into your sitting bones and noticing, where are you on your sitting bones? Are you leaning forward? Are you leaning back? If you do a slight little movement with your hips, can you feel the different angles of your sitting bones on the chair? Is there more weight in one sitting bone than the other? Maybe you're leaning more to the left or more to the right. And maybe it's sore on one side. And then into the hips, that's where the leg bones come into the pelvis. So on the right side and left side, the outside of that hip area. And then up into the pelvis themselves, the right pelvis and the left pelvis. And going up into your spine. Your spine starts at your tailbone. So are you aware of your tailbone? Can you feel your tailbone? That's an interesting one. So breathe in and breathe out and see if you can feel or sense your tailbone and where it is. Your tailbone goes way down. It actually falls below the crevice of your buttocks. So it actually goes way down deep. And then above your tailbone is your sacrum. So the sacrum is like an upside down triangle. The point is pointing down toward the floor. And that is the base of your spine. That's the last vertebrae of our spine. They're fused into this one bone. And then above your sacrum is your lower back, your lumbar spine. Going up into where your ribs attach to your spine, all the way up to your shoulders, that's your thoracic spine. And up above your shoulders is your neck or your cervical spine. So we got the whole spine all the way up, the tailbone, the sacrum, the lumbars, the thoracics, and the cervicals. And what about your shoulder blades? What's going on with your shoulder blades this morning? Can you feel them or sense them? Are they pulling forward or back? Do they feel high or low? And what about between your shoulder blades? Can you get a sense of the space between your right shoulder blade and your spine and your left shoulder blade and your spine? And coming around to your chest. What do you notice there? The right side of your chest and the left side of your chest. And what about your belly? I skipped over the belly. Your waist. Can you get a sense of where your navel is right now, your belly button? So as you breathe in and out, can you feel your belly button? And come up to your collarbones. As you inhale and exhale, can you feel your collarbones rising and falling, expanding and contracting, moving in some way? To your shoulder tops and the outsides of your shoulders. So the front, the sides, and the back, where your arm bones come into your clavicles, your collarbones. That's your shoulder area. And then down the arm bones, the upper arms, the humerus on the right and the humerus on the left. And where the upper arm bones connect into the lower arm bones, you've got two arm bones in the lower part. You've got your radius and your ulna. And then what connects those are your elbows. So your radius and ulna connect to your humerus via your elbows. And then moving down to your wrists. And that's where your lower arm bones connect into your hand bones. And then what about your hands, your palms and the backs of your hands and your thumbs and your fingers, all those joints? And what about your neck and your jaw? Breathing in, breathing out. So as you're investigating, notice if your breathing starts to take a little bit of a back seat. And notice your jaw. Is your jaw tight? Are your teeth, upper and lower teeth, clenched together? Can you create some space there? And what about your tongue? Where is it? Is it plastered up against the roof of your mouth? Is it investigating something interesting on the inside of your teeth? That's often the case. Can you let your tongue be relaxed? Just kind of hanging out there in the bottom of your mouth. And what about your eyes? Do you feel like you're squinting or furrowing your brow? Are your eyes closed or open? Are you squeezing them tight, or are they holding closed easily? And then what about your ears? Can you get a sense of your ears? Can you feel the tops of your ears and your ear lobes? And then going into your ear canal, can you feel or sense all of that? These are body parts that we don't often sense very easily. And then anything else in your body, so just kind of doing a quick scan from head to toe. Just kind of letting your inner awareness move around. What are you most aware of in your body? What are you least aware of in your body? And let your breath start to deepen around all of that awareness. As you breathe in, your belly and rib cage expand. And as you breathe out, your belly and rib cage contract. So breathing in, the belly and rib cage expand, and breathing out, belly and rib cage contract. Breathing in, your spine gets long and tall. Breathing out, you release tension in your neck and shoulders. Breathing in, the corners of your mouth turn up slightly into a smile, and breathing out, you relax the muscles around your mouth. Let's take one more really full, deep breath in. And when you get to the top of that inhalation, hold your breath. And then see if you can take in a little bit more air. And then you can let it out with a sigh. Let your eyes open. Take your hands from your lap and slowly bring your arms up overhead. Give yourself a nice stretch here. So if your arms don't go overhead easily, you can bring them here. You can bring them out in front. See if you can stretch from one side to the other. Imagine we're just kind of waking up. And if there's a yawn there, this is the yawn posture, right? This makes me want to yawn. And if you do, make it a loud one so everybody can share, right? That's the thing, yawns are contagious. Oh, then take one arm forward and one arm back. Oh, and the other way. Just really easily going forward and back just a couple of times. You can twist your body a little if you like or not. And then let's go to the right side. So reach out to that right side. Tap that person over there on the shoulder. Reach out to the left side. Give that person a little tap over there. Let's go back to that other person. Oh, reach out there. They got a little piece of lint on their shoulder. Pick that off. And then the other side. Oh, pick that lint off. Great. Let's roll those shoulders forward, up, back, and down. Good. All right. So we're going to go right down to the feet now that we've kind of rolled things out in the top. Let's look down at those feet. So in socks is fine. See if you can lift all your toes up, spread them out nice and wide, and then lower them all down. And with the toes all lowered down, see if you can press down into the bottoms of your toes and kind of lift up through your arches a little bit. So you feel a little tension being created in the bottoms of the feet. And then relax all of that. Lift the toes up, spread them out nice and wide, place them down slowly. Press down into the bottoms of the toes and see if you can lift up through your arches, breathing in, breathing out. So feel that tension coming up your legs. Yeah? And then relax all of that. And we'll do that one more time. So lifting all the toes. Now as you lift up your toes, spread them out as wide as they can go. And then see if you can place them down one at a time. Start with the little toes first. So see if you can get all those toes down. It's like you're playing the piano with your toes, right? Good. And then press down into all the bottoms of all the toes and lift up through the arches. Really engage the thigh muscles a bit here, right? So can you feel that? Good. And then relax all of that. Excellent. Extend your right leg. Let's squeeze and extend the toes. Squeezing and extending the toes. Good. Excellent. And then let's point and tap. So we're getting movement in the ankle here. So the ankle movement forward and back, and then circling around. Good. Little snap and crackling out there, and then reverse direction. Excellent. And then let's put the heel on the floor, and we're going to turn the foot without turning the whole leg. See if you can turn your foot in and then turn your foot out. So for those in the back, I'm turning the foot in and out. In and out, right? Now you're going to see a little movement come up into your knee, but we're not rotating the whole leg quite yet. We're just trying to get this kind of movement in the ankle. How are we doing? Not well. Some ankles move better than others, right? Yes, and that's okay. So we're just trying to get a little bit more in here. Okay, take that foot, slide it back, slide the other one out. So we're going to start just with the toes. Squeeze and extend, squeeze and extend. So I'm doing this with my toes, right? So just noticing what the toes are feeling like. And again, just thinking about your joints this morning and what the joints are feeling like. And then point and flex, right? Point and flex. You got a lot of joints in your feet. You got 33 joints in each foot. That's a lot of joints, right? That's a pretty complicated piece of biology down there, right? So we're pointing and flexing, and then let's start to circle around. Oh, and does this ankle move the same way that the other did, or does this one move a little different? Maybe the other one was moved more freely, or maybe this one moves a little more freely. Reverse direction. Breathing in, breathing out always helps with the movement. Okay, and then heel comes to the floor, and we're going to do that same movement at just the ankle, so kind of going in and out. And again, this is what it looks like for me on this side. So I'm trying to keep the leg from moving. It's just the ankle. Now you might notice, oh, I have a little more movement on this ankle, or I have a little less movement on this ankle, or maybe it's about the same, right? So we don't get this kind of movement too often. We don't get a lot of ankle movement without weight bearing, so that's something to consider too. If we want to free things up a little bit, we got to do this non-weight bearing kind of movement. Okay, and then let's bend that knee and bring that foot back down. Okay, so just kind of noticing now what the ankles feel like. Bring your feet back under your knees a little bit, and we're just going to lift and lower. So you're coming up onto toes, and then coming back down onto heels. Lifting and lowering. Next time you come up, stay up there and press down a little bit. And as you press down a little bit, you should feel this in the backs of your lower legs. Your calf muscles should be really working here. And then lowering down. And again, coming back up. and lowering down. One more time, coming up and lowering down. Excellent. And then just slide your feet where they're most comfortable. We're going to work up to the knees. So that right leg, let's just start by bending and extending. So if you'd like, you can have your hands resting on your chair. I find that that's helpful for me, just to remind me where my shoulders need to be, because when I'm bending my knee, I can tend to do this a little bit. So notice what the knee feels like this morning. How's it feeling out there? Is it a little crabby? Snap, crackle, and pop out there, right? Yeah, knees can be kind of noisy. All right, couple more, just kind of going forward and back. And then we're going to go to the other side. So we're just warming things up a little bit. So just warming things up. Nice and slow, nice easy pace. Breathing in, breathing out. And again, just noticing what this knee feels like. Is it different than the other one? Maybe it's obvious that it's different from the other one. If you've had a knee replacement, that you might be noticing a fairly big difference, or if you've had an injury or some kind of surgery to the knee. Okay. And then we're going to put that foot down. You're just going to scoot over a little bit to the right side of your chair. We're going to use the heel and the toes and walk your foot out about 45 degrees, so not too far. And then we're just going to let that knee come in and out. Now you can come up right up on the inside edge of your foot, and then on the outside edge of your foot, we're bringing movement up into the hip joint now. Right, so if you remember last week, we did a similar movement where we kept the foot flat on the floor and moved the leg in and out, and that was to get some movement in the ankle. So this time we're just trying to get some movement into the hip. So just notice what that feels like. Is it easier for you to drop your knee in, or is it easier for you to bring your knee out? Is there a noise in there when you do that? Is there a spot that doesn't feel smooth, that maybe is a little clicky or clunky in there, right? Okay. So the next time your knee comes out, we're going to hold there and walk your foot out just a little bit more. Okay. And then just kind of holding here, we're going to slide the foot out, right? Slide it back in, and then walk it back into the other foot. So we're going to do that a few times. So let's breathe as we do this. So breathing in and breathing out. We're just walking the foot out. You're going to slide it out, slide it back, and then walk it all the way back. So we're just doing this movement. Now, if sliding doesn't work for you, you can always place it out there, right? Breathe in, breathe out. So we're getting multiple movements, and I like this. This is called a compound movement. So we're getting some movement in the ankle, we're getting some movement in the knee, and we're getting some movement in the hip. So if you're short on time, if you've been sitting at the edge of your bed for 20 minutes trying to stretch before you get up, think about like how many joints can I hit with one movement, kind of get it all done, right? I know that doesn't sound very yogic, right? We're supposed to be like just the knee, but it's okay. Okay. Next time your foot comes back in, whenever that is, we're going to switch sides. So we're going to scoot to the center, and we're going to go, did we do the knee? We did, yeah, so scoot all the way over. Yep, had to remember what I've done and what I haven't. So go out about 45 degrees with that foot, and then we're just going to drop the knee in, come up on the inside edge of the foot, and then drop the knee out. So again, you can ride up on the inside and outside edge of the foot if that works, right? So maybe I don't have as much range of movement on this side, so my foot doesn't really lift off the floor. Maybe it's a little sore. So again, thinking about our joints and what I was saying at the very beginning, which is we want to be able to move into the place of discomfort, but we don't want to go to the place of pain. So when I do this, do I have some discomfort when I move my knee out or when I move my knee in? What happens if I hang out there and breathe into that? Does that give me a different understanding or a different perspective of my body? Sometimes I get discomfort because I haven't moved like that in a long time. So my body is unfamiliar with that. My muscles are not accustomed to moving in that way. So it just says, hey, I don't think we like this too much. Okay. So the next time you have your knee out. We're going to hold here, walk it out a little bit more, and then slide the foot away. Slide it back, and then walk the foot all the way back toward the other one. So it's the same movement. We're just walking out, sliding or placing, and coming back. Yeah. Good. So what's happening here on this side of the body? So is it different? Does my knee feel different when I bring my leg out? Does my hip rotate in a little different way? Am I more or less limited on this side? We all have limitations, right? What do I prefer? Do I prefer bringing my leg out, or do I prefer bringing my leg in? And what about my knee, right? What's happening in my knee? What's happening in my ankle? So there's all these things. And while you're noticing all these things and questioning all these things, are you breathing? Because being quiet with the breath sometimes makes us feel like we can tune in better to what's happening in the body. Okay, how about one more time, and when you get that foot back in, we're going to scoot back to the center of the chair again. Okay. So we've done a little bit of work here. So now with the feet about hip width distance apart, so maybe like 6 or 8 inches between your big toes, you're sitting right up near the front edge of your chair. Maybe a little bit, how do I want to say this? So can you all feel the hill, the top of the hill on your chair, right? Go to the back of the hill just a little bit. It feels a little more secure, right? Okay. So from the back of the hill, what we're going to do is we're going to slide the sitting bones. We're going to slide the right sitting bone forward and the left sitting bone back, and then we're going to slide the left sitting bone forward and the right sitting bone back. Now, y'all know where your sitting bones are? Reach under there. They should be on the back of the hill, right? You can feel them. They're bones. That's the bottom of your pelvis. I left Skelly at home today because it's raining. She does not like the rain. Sorry. I'll bring her next time. Yes, she is. So you've got your 2 hip bones, right? You've got the right side and the left side. They're like elephant ears. I've talked about this before. So they come up like this, and then they come down to the bottom. They don't come to a point. They come almost to like this. I like to think of them as my fist, right? So it's flat on the bottom, and it's got some heft to it. So on the right side and left side, you've got these sitting bones here. So what we're going to do is we're going to slide that right one forward and the left one back, and then the left one forward and the right one back. So you can feel it moves your whole body a little bit, right? Yeah. And you might feel like one hip lifts as it slides back. You get that sensation? All right, let's do this with the arms, because that might be a little easier to figure out. So as you slide your right sitting bone forward, your right arm comes forward. And as you slide your left sitting bone forward, your left arm comes forward, right? So we're just kind of going back and forth. Now see if you can do this with minimal movement in your rib cage. So in other words, we're not doing this, but we're trying to do this. So we're trying to get something, it's called a differential movement, right? So when I move something on the bottom one way and I don't allow the upper body to move in the same way, I actually keep it in a different direction, I've got different movement in the upper and lower body. So that's differential movement. Good. Everybody gotten that? Nope. That's okay. All right, so we're going forward and back. Okay, now coming back to kind of that center place, right? So you get more aware of your sitting bones now that you've kind of been moving them a little bit. Now see if you can lift up a little on your right sitting bone, and then down, and then lift up a little on your left sitting bone, and then down. But the trick is to not lean as you're doing it, right? So lifting up on that right sitting bone. So here, I'll show you the difference. So this is lifting the sitting bone by leaning. This is lifting the sitting bone without leaning. That's a very slight movement, right? So we're lifting one side and then the other. And you'll feel it in the pelvis. You'll feel it in the right side of the pelvis and the left side of the pelvis. And if it's helpful, take your hands, bring your hands to your pelvis, and as you lift that right one, you'll feel it go up. And as you lift the left one, you'll feel that one go up. So now most of you are not breathing. So I could feel like a collective in the room. So just breathe in and breathe out. Got that? And then relax that. How did that go? Was it easier to feel the slide or the lift? Lift. Okay, slide. Somebody said slide, right? Okay, so there's always one. No, just kidding, Ellen. No, there's always a difference of experience, right? We all have like a different way of doing it. So let's do this. Let's see if we can, how do I want to describe this? Do you all know what an elliptical machine is? Right? You've all seen them. You kind of do this movement, right? That sort of circling movement with your legs. We're going to try and do that with our sitting bones, right? So it's a lift and a slide forward and then a lower and a slide back. Does that make sense? It does, but it's kind of weird. Like it's like you're walking on your bum, right? Yeah, exactly. So let's see if we can do that. Let's see if we can lift one side and then the other. And now just notice, oh, that causes like a little discomfort in my back, or that causes a little discomfort in my hip. Isn't that interesting? Because when's the last time you did this? Never? Never, ever. Right? And it might feel very strange, because it is. So in a yoga class I used to teach many years ago, we used to sit on the mat, on the floor with our legs extended and do this and walk up the mat and walk back. So we've all been going forward, right? So now we're going to go backwards. So imagine you're walking backwards. So it's the same thing. You're doing this lift. It's like you're doing that elliptical lift in reverse. And are you breathing? Feet are flat. Yes, thank you for that. Yeah, feet are flat. Okay, and then relax all of that. Oh, take a breath and just notice. Maybe close your eyes. Go inside what's happening in your hips, your pelvis, your sacrum, right? So where your sacrum comes into your pelvis. So that's your lower back. What's going on there? Take your feet a little wider than your hips now. So maybe about as wide as the legs of the chair. Maybe just about that wide. Have your heels underneath your knees and have your hands on your thighs. And what we're going to do is just kind of move forward and back. And this is another movement for the hips. So we're going to come forward with a nice flat back, come forward, forward, and then we're going to come back and lean back, right? So we're coming forward and leaning back. Nice and slow. Breathe in, breathe out. Right? So I like to breathe in when I'm coming forward and breathe out when I'm coming back, because there's more effort to lift up and it's better to exhale when you're exerting yourself. You do that probably without even knowing it. If you're lifting something, we tend to exhale when we exert ourselves because it gives us a little more power. So you can feel this in the hips, right? So where the legs come into the pelvis on the right and where they come into the pelvis on the left, just kind of feeling this movement here. Good. Excellent. And then the next time you come forward, we're going to make that the last time, and then you're going to go back to a neutral position. Good. So from this neutral position, just notice again what you feel in your hips, your back, your legs. We're going to take that movement up a little bit higher. So if you take your hands to your pelvis, right? So that's where the bones are here. So it's under your ribs, below your waist, and then down into where the bones are. What did I just do? Okay. And then with your hands, kind of using your hands as your guide, we're going to tip the pelvis forward like that. And then we're going to tip the pelvis backward like that. So it's like an extension of your spine and then a flexion of your spine. Yeah. Yeah. So from the side, just in case it's not really obvious, so we're coming forward and then we're going backwards. So the movement is a little bit higher up. So again, we're still in kind of the hips, pelvis region, getting a little bit of movement in there. Good. Breathe in, breathe out as you're doing this. And you'll notice that that movement likes to come right up the spine, right? So when you tip your pelvis forward, you can feel your chest come forward. And then when you tip your pelvis back, you can feel your chest kind of cave in a little bit. Good. Excellent. One more. Forward and back. Excellent. And then coming back to that neutral spine, let your hands rest on your lap. Close your eyes for a moment. If that feels okay, breathe in, breathe out. So we're kind of working our way up the joints of the body from the toes all the way up. So coming up a little bit higher now if you want to open your eyes. So we're coming up into the rib cage and the thoracic spine. So that's the part of your spine that runs from, my ribs start right about here. So that's where my thoracic spine starts, and then it ends here. So it's everything that has a rib attached to it is part of your thoracic spine. That's a little harder to get some movement in by itself. So we can use arms to do that. We can use breath to do that. So let's start by sliding back into the chair. So it doesn't matter if your feet don't touch the floor, that's fine. We don't worry about being grounded here. So from here, I want you to really push your spine, or your back rather, into the chair. I want you to really feel that. Okay, so I can really feel that. So let's start with the biggest movement. We're going to take the arms up and out to the side, and then we're going to come forward and reach forward, but don't let your back come off the chair. So breathe in as the arms come up, breathe out as the arms come forward. So we're going to continue to do this movement. So as you inhale, we're opening through the chest, and as you exhale, we're pulling forward. Right? Couple more of these. Great. One more time. All the way up, 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 and then forward, and let your hands come to rest on your lap. Now close your eyes and start to take some really full, deep breaths into the back of your body. So what I want you to do is feel the back of your body pressing into the chair as you breathe in, and then feel the chair pressing into the back of your body as you breathe out. So take really full, deep breaths here. So what you should feel when you're breathing in and out, what you're feeling in the back of your body is actually some movement in that thoracic region. So we're getting expansion between the ribs when you inhale, and contraction between the ribs when you exhale. Let the breath get nice and long and deep. And then with your back still up against the chair, see if you can place your hands somewhere on your rib cage. So maybe take your right hand and bring it over to the left side of your ribs, and take your left hand and bring it up to the right side of your upper ribs. And so as you inhale, you're feeling the expansion of your rib cage into the back of the chair, but you're also feeling it into your hands as well. So again, the right hand is on the lower rib cage somewhere, the left hand is on the right rib cage somewhere. It could be on the top if you're not comfortable with the bottom, or if you're not comfortable with the top, go to the bottom. And they might even switch sides. Maybe your left hand goes over to the rib cage on the bottom, and right hand. So just find a hand position that works for you, that you can actually feel this movement of your rib cage in and out as you're doing this really deep breathing. So you're feeling it in the back of your body, you're feeling it in the front of your body. And if your hand is able to get around to the side of your rib cage a little bit, maybe you can feel it into the side of your rib cage as well. Just a couple more of these, breathing in, breathing out. And then relax your hands. Just going back to feeling the movement in the back of your body. And then open your eyes if they've been closed, and we're going to slide forward on the chair. So come to sort of the back part of the hill. So were you able to feel that movement in your rib cage in the front and the back at the same time? Yeah, so it's a fairly small movement compared to, knees and shoulders and all of that. But every time you inhale and exhale and your ribs expand and contract, there's a little bit of movement that gets translated into your thoracic spine because your ribs kind of click in. So the spine is here, you get the ribs that click in all the way up and all the way down. So when we create that movement, we're actually getting a little bit of movement in that thoracic spine, which is a good thing. So we're going to do a little bit more with that upper or middle back, the thoracic spine. So take your hands, interlace your fingers, and then we're going to press the palms away and see if you can round through your back, but don't tuck your chin under, and try not to really roll on your sitting bones too much. Breathe in, breathe out. So it's like, imagine I'm coming around and I'm just grabbing your little hands and I'm just giving a little pull forward, right? So you can feel your shoulder blades coming off your back. Can you feel that? Yeah, so breathe into that space between your shoulder blades back there. If this is too much with your hands interlaced, you can always just grab one wrist. This is maybe, especially if you have fingers that are a little cranky today because of the weather, you can just always grab one wrist and just kind of pull forward. Good. Breathing in, breathing out into that upper back. And then release that. Give that a little roll. And then we're going to take the arms behind and we're going to grab the wrists back there. So if you can grab the wrists, or if you can only grab the hands, that's fine. So let's see if you can grab the wrists back behind you. And when you grab your wrists back behind you, I want you to think about taking your elbows and bringing your elbows together back there, right? So it's like you're trying to get the elbows together. And when you get the elbows together, what you're actually doing is squeezing the shoulder blades. Can you all feel your shoulder blades squeezing? And then relax that a little bit. Okay. Two things. What we don't want to do is lift the chin when we do this, and we also don't want to lift the shoulders, right? So we want to keep the shoulders down, keep the head sort of neutral, and then you're going to bring the elbows back and squeeze the shoulder blades together. And breathe. So if this is too much, you'll feel that. If it's not enough, see if you can go a little bit farther. But now what we're trying to do is breathe into the front part here. So right into the chest, underneath the collarbones, down into the front of the rib cage, breathing in and breathing out. Nice deep breaths in and out. Your neck is relaxed, your jaw is relaxed, your shoulders are down away from your ears. Good. And then let that go. Let your hands come back around to the front. So just take a moment here. Notice what that movement felt like in your rib cage, in your thoracic spine. Big breath in, let it out with a sigh. Let's just finish off the spine a little bit. So we're going to drop the chin down toward the chest, stretch the back of that neck and the upper back, and then lift your chin up. Try not to go above 45 degrees. And then lowering back down. So it's like a very slow motion yes. Right? So you're nodding your head, just coming up and back. Now, as you bring your head up, again, you just want to be mindful because most of us are in that chin lifted position a good part of the time. So we don't really need to exercise that as much as we need to exercise getting the chin in toward the collarbones. That's the movement that's the stretch that we really need to have, is with the chin in toward the collarbones. Couple more. Breathing in, breathing out. Great. And then coming back to that neutral position with your head, you're going to drop your right ear to your right shoulder. And then come up slowly, go left ear to left shoulder. So again, we want to go really slowly with this because if you go too fast, there's a couple of things. One is you could feel a little dizzy, right? It could give you a little bit of that dizzy feeling. Two is that when we go quickly, we actually aren't allowing the muscles to respond. When I move in momentum, I don't have to use the muscles that I'm trying to stretch and strengthen here. I use different parts of my body to do that, to make that effort for me. So the next time you have your right ear toward your right shoulder, we're just going to hold here with the right ear toward the right shoulder. And breathe. And take your left hand and drop it off the chair, off your lap. So it's the weight of the arm is actually just kind of pulling down on that side, and you're trying to get your right ear closer to your shoulder. So can you get that right ear even closer? Breathe in and out, slow and deep. And with those inhalations and exhalations, see if that allows you a little more range of movement there, a little more movement toward that right side. And bring your head back up, your hand comes back to your lap, and then let's take that left ear to the left shoulder. And we're going to hang out here and dropping the right hand off the lap or off the chair. And again, breathing in, breathing out. With every exhalation, see if you could get that ear a little closer to the shoulder. With every inhalation, see if you can relax your body a little bit more. And notice, is it easier on this side? Does this feel more comfortable having the left ear on the left shoulder, or did it feel more comfortable having the right ear on the right shoulder? Or maybe neither way is very comfortable, right? So especially if you've got a stiff neck or you've got a neck that's been giving you some trouble. And then bring your head back up, bring your hand back to your lap, and turn and look out over your right shoulder. And breathe in and out as you turn all the way back through center and look out over the left shoulder. Again, go nice and slow, because this can also make you feel a little bit dizzy if you go fast. And each time you get to one side, give it a little pause. When you get your head turned all the way to one side, give it a little pause and then see if you can go a little farther. And then come back and through. And again to the other side. So same thing. So we're just kind of doing this. You can do this with your eyes closed or open. Sometimes having your eyes closed helps with that dizzy feeling. And are you able to inhale and exhale easily? And the next time that your head comes to center, we're going to pause here. Just kind of bring the shoulders up, around, back and down a couple times. So we kind of worked our way from the toes up to the spine. We got all the way up to the head, right? So we've got all those joints kind of moving a little bit. Let's move down the arms a little. So we're doing some shoulder circles right now. Let's see if we can get the elbows lifted. So we're circling the arms and the movement is happening at the shoulders, and there's a little bit of movement here in the elbows. For most of us, this is going to be a noisy kind of movement because shoulders are a little noisy. And then the next time your elbows are down toward the floor, so like this, we're going to switch the direction and go the other way. And the reason for bringing the elbows down toward the floor before you switch is that you put your shoulder in a more stable position before changing rotation. It's just a better way to do it, to make sure you don't pinch something or tweak something or get something feeling a little funny. All right. So now let's do this. Let's do a little kayaking. So we have one elbow forward and then the other elbow forward. So we're going forward with our kayaks. You can have your hands kind of floating free, or you can put your hands on your shoulders if you like. And you can feel a little movement in your spine as well. Breathing in, breathing out. And again, noticing what's happening in your shoulders, especially if you've got a little wonkiness in a shoulder this morning. At some point, we're going to switch the direction. So kind of going backwards. How are we all doing? We're doing good. Okay, good. So we're kayaking along. We're backing up the kayak. We're backing up the kayak. Okay, and then just kind of pause that, and whoops, we fell out of the kayak, and now we got to swim. So let's bring the arm up and around. So again, swimming the best you can. Again, if you've got an arm that doesn't do this big, huge rotation, just do the best rotation you can. Little discomfort in that arm might be happening here. So this is the English crawl, right? And we're all drowning because our faces are forward. So can you turn your head? Do you all remember swimming lessons? Did you have swimming lessons? Right? So when your left arm comes forward, you turn your head to the right. When your right arm comes forward, you turn your head to the left. And you're saying, oh my God, I don't know how to coordinate this, right? Oh boy. So whichever arm is coming forward, the head turns in the opposite direction. Okay, so now we're going to do the backstroke. So thank God we're on our backs. Who cares about the head, right? Just forward is fine. Whew. We're going to float. Somebody's floating out there. Well, floating's harder. That means legs and arms. Oh, Carol's like this. Yeah. I like that. I'll have to work that in. All right. All right. And then forget all that swimming. We finally made it back to shore. Thank God. All right. So where's the kayak? Somebody else picked it up. I don't know where that thing is. All right. Let's bend the elbows a little bit. So we're just going to flex and extend here the arms, right? So it doesn't matter. So bring your arms, just for fun, bring your arms forward and then bring them out to the sides and then bring them down. Right? So notice what's happening. So as you're doing this, do this nice and slow with the elbows, right? Go up overhead. Go out at a diagonal, right? So there's all these different ways that we can position the arms. What about if you bring your arms back behind you? All these different ways that we're positioning the arms, but I want you to focus on what's happening in the elbows, right? So, as I do this, I'm bending and extending my elbows, but I'm putting my shoulders, my arms, in all kinds of different positions. How does that affect the sensation in my elbows? How does that affect my ability to bend my elbows? And what if I did one extended and one bended? Right? I feel like I'm directing traffic, right? You go, you stay. Right, out to the sides. Like it's kind of play, right? How often do we do something that's just play and we don't have to really have a set way of doing it? Yeah. Forward, up, down. And then let that go and just kind of notice what that feels like. Oh, elbows have some pretty funky movement in there. Let's take the wrists and circle those wrists around. How many people have wrist issues, wrist pain? Yeah. So just kind of circling things around there. A lot of times the pain in wrists and hands is because of tightness in the upper arms. Many times. Yes. So let's take that right arm and extend it out. Have your hand below your shoulder, and we're going to pull back on the fingers and straighten that elbow. Now, if you're feeling some pain or tension here in the arm, and you are one of those people who have wrist or hand pain, this might be the source of your wrist or hand pain. So you want to be doing this kind of stretch. And then drop your fingers toward the floor and press on the back of your hand. So again, if you can straighten your elbow, you're going to feel that up into that upper arm, and you're actually going to get that elbow joint. I like things that hit multiple points. Right? So if I'm stretching here, if I'm stretching my wrist, I want to be able to get that elbow in there too. So let's go back to pulling back on the fingers, breathing in, breathing out, and then pulling back on the back of the hand. So when we put the fingers down toward the floor, you don't want to be pulling on your fingers at that point. You actually want to be pulling on the back of your hand. And then we'll go to the other side. So pressing out through the heel of the left hand, pull back on the fingers. Straightening that elbow, and again, keeping the hand below the shoulder is helpful, because what ends up happening is I do this. I'll get up here and now I'm tightening up my shoulder. It's like, oh, okay, I can do this with the hand way down here. And then dropping the fingers and pressing on the back of the hand. Getting a good press there. And notice, so which way feels more comfortable? Do the other one. That's the answer, right? Whichever way feels more comfortable, do the other one. So pulling back on the fingers. For me, the most uncomfortable one is pulling down on the back of the hand. That's more uncomfortable for me. So I like to spend a little more time doing this. My work actually has me in this position a lot. So this is what I need a little more. Okay, and then relax that. Let's circle around again a little bit here. And then we'll do some work for the fingers. So squeezing and extending, right? And then we have that little bear claw in the middle, right? So this is our starfish with the fingers extended, and we're going to go to a bear claw, right? With the fingers kind of, it's like you're holding on for dear life. And then you're going into a fist. So we have a starfish and a bear claw and a fist. Starfish, bear claw, fist. And just keep going and breathing as you're doing this. And noticing Oh, what's happening in the hands? For some of us, the bear claw can feel really challenging because those little joints in the fingers, if those are the joints that are kind of talking to, if they've got a little arthritis in them, this can be a little more uncomfortable doing that bear claw. So let's end with a fist, and we're going to hold that fist and squeeze that fist. So squeeze to the point where you're trying to make orange juice, right? So you got orange in each hand and you're trying to make orange juice. If it's painful, if you've got a joint that's really unhappy in this, then don't squeeze quite so hard. So breathing in, breathing out, and then we're going to extend the fingers and spread them as wide as you can. So you're spreading your thumb as far away from your pinky as it'll go, and these fingers are trying to get away from everybody. They're going up toward the ceiling, right? So they're really reaching. Now try not to hold your hands way up here. You want to have your hands down a little bit because those shoulders, we don't want to create more tension in the shoulders by extending through the fingers. And are you breathing? I'm the only one not breathing? Okay. All right. I can accept that. So now we're going to take the thumbs and we're going to bring the thumbs over to the knuckle of the little finger and then open, right? Oh, yeah, right? You're still spreading your fingers nice and wide, so don't let your hands relax, right? There's a difference. So just for comparison, let your fingers relax and do that. Easy. Now spread your fingers out really wide and do that. Harder, right? Yeah. Okay. Couple more times. I can see grimaces. So I know you're doing it right. Okay. And now take your pinky and your thumb and touch them together in the middle and keep these other fingers extended, right? Right? And then open. Yeah, the other fingers might want to go with it. That's okay. Yep, if they want to join in, they can be tagging along. Keep them like 2 steps behind. Now breathe in and breathe out, because that can be a hard thing to do with this, right? Okay. And now let's go thumb and ring finger. And keep all those other fingers extended. So you want to keep some tension in the hand, right? So again, if I just relax my hands, that's super easy. If I keep some tension in the hands, it's a little bit harder. Breathe in, breathe out. Go to the middle finger, because I know you want to. And you'll notice that ring finger really wants to go with that middle finger, right? Yeah. There's a little tendon actually between these 2 fingers that keep them kind of moving together. Some people have more of a tendon there than not. Some people can't get those fingers to work independently. Okay, and then first finger, pointer finger, right? So keeping the others. Notice your jaw. Is it clenched? When you're clenching your jaw, you're not breathing very well. Okay, and then let's kind of shake out those hands a little bit here. Whew, just kind of noticing. Let your hands come down to your lap. Close your eyes. Feel your arms, your hands. Feel your elbows and wrists. Feel your shoulders, your neck, your jaw. Breathe in, breathe out to where your shoulder blades are on the back of your body. Feeling the rib cage expand and contract, breathing in, breathing out. Keep traveling down into your belly, the sides of your waist, your low back. As you inhale and exhale, explore your pelvis. So the right side of your pelvis and the left side of your pelvis and the right hip and left hip. Feel your right sitting bone and left sitting bone on the chair. And feel how your sitting bones are kind of the foundation for the upper part of your body. So if the sitting bones are positioned on the chair in a good, even way, then the pelvis is even and level and the spine is able to be relaxed and comfortable. And then going down into the thighs and the knees. I know that was a long time ago, but we were doing some movement with our knees, and then down into the lower legs, the shins and the calves, the ankles, the feet. Oh, the feet, my favorite. The tops of the feet, the bottoms of the feet. You got all kinds of arches in there. You got all kinds of bones in there. Feeling all the bones and joints in your feet and your toes. The toes that mobilize and stabilize you, right? So with your toes you can walk, you can balance, you can dance, you can do all kinds of things, stand. So from toes to knees to hips to shoulders to fingers to the jaw. Breathing in, breathing out. Expanding and contracting. That's the natural order of things. Expansion is followed by contraction. Contraction is followed by expansion. And we feel this in our physical bodies. That's why breathing practice can be so important every day, to do a little breathing practice to remind ourselves of this expansion and contraction in our bodies. It's also helpful to remind ourselves that expansion and contraction happens emotionally too. Sometimes I feel really happy and good and ready to go, and sometimes I don't. And it's not that something needs to be fixed when I don't feel that way. It's just the natural contraction part of life. Same thing with our mental abilities. Sometimes I'm sharp and on, and sometimes I'm not. So just trusting that there's an expansion and contraction to everything, to our physical lives, our emotional lives, our mental lives. Breathing in a little bit more with each inhalation. Breathing out a little bit more with each exhalation. Feeling your whole body respond to this movement of air in and out. And then just taking a moment in whatever way feels good for you to just appreciate your breath, to appreciate that movement. Without the breath, there is nothing else. So that is first and foremost. Taking a nice deep breath, let it out with a sigh. If you'd like to open your eyes and just maybe acknowledge all these wonderful people that we've been breathing and moving with today. That's a lot of people. Great. You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you all next time.